Welcome back to Jake Geek TV News. The average American can't figure out why they feel like absolute trash.
We go live to a triple boosted science truster who says,
it's just her genetics.
it's just genetic?
Yeah, literally. I never eat red meat. I switched to seed oils only because, health. And here I am.
We're here with a man who's just glowing from head to toe. Sir, what's your secret to your health?
Statins and blood pressure meds. Hold up, I'm about to have a heart attack.
What's your secret?
Just avoid the sun. I have skin cancer. That's why I do this.
Good thing they listen to their doctors. Not much more they can actually do.
True. Let's thank Big Pharma for being the main source of funding of all of our propaganda.
Sponsored by Pfizer, the largest criminal organization to ever do it.
We promised to take the red dye out of the Skittles.
Oh, thank God. Red dye was the real emergency. Let's not talk about the other colors, the fluoride, the chemtrails, and the deadly mRNA altering our DNA. Back to you, Jenny.
Thanks, John. We're here at the local 7-Eleven and want you focusing on what's in the candy. And this way, you won't notice the rising autism and heart disease in children.
Well, autism and child heart disease isn't that big of a deal. It's not like the jab causes turbo cancer or anything. Jessica goes live to find out how to prevent it.
How are we going to prevent cancer?
Do you know how much commission I make off chemo treatment? Next question.
What's the best way to stay healthy in today's world?
The key to getting healthy is lowering your cholesterol. Trust me, I'm a doctor.
Look, just trust your fat doctor. He once watched a 1-hour lecture on nutrition.
A 1-hour lecture on nutrition, $123K US dollars. Last night, can you believe it? I knew when I went to bed that if I woke up, which I always do in about 4 hours, that we would see it. At the time it was 119. I'm like, oh, man, this is gonna go. She wants to go, and sure enough, all the way to 123. It's so insane when you think about it. 121.8 right now. Lord love a duck, Terry Crow, no doubt. Knocking on 120. Now it's been like, think about it. Last Monday, like last week, when I did the live stream, we were at 109. Now, to move this amount, this price action at this level is immense. It's not like moving $1,000 down at 30K, like I always reference. This is big money, finally maybe uncoiling to a certain degree. Now, will we see a pullback? Of course, there's always pullbacks. We are in the summer bummer, but in a bull run, the summer bummer kind of takes on a different vibe, if it will. Will we see the August-September lull? Maybe. It's when we're so hella bullish on mornings like this, you become slightly euphoric to the downside. You start thinking, well, maybe this will never happen. Well, maybe this will always happen. Well, maybe we'll never see this again. It's just this human psychology that kind of comes through in these bullish times. But, I mean, for all of us sitting here, 4 years, easily 4 years, it's no surprise. We've been talking about this forever. Now, it gets frustrating when all you see is massive corporations, Bitcoin treasuries up the wazoo, piling in, and the price doesn't move. So the lesson that I've taken from this bull run, so to speak, is that price action has moved very differently than it did in the 2021 bull market. 2021 bull market, we would see bullish fundies come in and the price would just explode. And now we see, 10x the bullish fundies, and the price doesn't move. In fact, it usually goes down. And until all their bags are packed, not ours. Well, this is where we're lucky. We're lucky our bags are packed. That's all you can say, because essentially this is no longer a FOMO or a retail-driven asset. And as assets grow, they become less and less retail-oriented. Now, we're just lucky that for some reason we got in at the right time. Call it luck. Call it an undying Dave Digital. Holy smokes, blast from the past. I'd sing it, Dave, but on these Monday mornings after singing, I don't no longer have the voice. Let's try it. This may be painful. Dave Digital with 5 pianomattyb, gifted member shy. That's a plural for memberships. I guess if I sing in this natural kind of tone, it doesn't really matter. Thank you very much, Dave Digital. Good to see you, buddy. Dave, I don't know if you saw the live stream, but it was right after the Las Vegas, how we were both, we both witnessed something very interesting about YouTube, about content creators, and about Bitcoin, because we were just chatting. Piano is not turned on. Can I get a double on that? I hear it. Terry, were you too fast on the trigger finger? Yeah. Anyway, doesn't matter. We were just chatting by the piano, and someone came up to me, and while I was talking to Dave, I can't remember what his name was. Anyway, and he said that how it was because of this channel that he stayed in, and he got his dad in, and he convinced his dad to invest in Bitcoin. And he came, and he was very polite, and he came in and out, and he left, and then Dave and I were just sitting there, and Dave was like, "That's amazing." And at first I didn't understand it, right? Like, I was like, yeah, it is amazing, but I didn't really get what he was saying. It was like, it was almost like a culmination of everything that we've been doing in 4 years here with this channel, with this community, with Dave. Like, for anyone who doesn't know Dave Digital, I would say 80% of the reason I was at the Bitcoin conference playing the piano, like as an employed, Bitcoiner, was because Dave started this campaign, with a couple other people, always adding Bitcoin conference, like at the Twitter thing, till finally they couldn't ignore the knocks on the door. It didn't happen the first year, but we kept at it. And essentially we got to the Bitcoin conference, right? And that was, so part of that was amazing, was this culmination of everything that we've been trying to do and coming to fruition, and seeing this person just come up, and explain his journey, to us. I wonder what we look like, actually, Dave. We're just probably listening to him, like, yeah, oh, great, nice to meet you. Anyway, that was a pretty cool moment, because it was like, I look for value from the community with this channel, whether it's the piano or the TA or these live streams, and they come in different forms and fashion. A lot of them come with DMs. It's not, people aren't overly vocal about it, and some people will come up and say things like that when but I rarely meet people outside, because I'm up in Kanadistan here, so I don't really see a lot of people. So when I do, and they reiterate that there was value provided, it keeps me carrying on, because YouTube's, it's a grind. It's always a grind at the best of times and the worst of times. So when I sense that people have found value in it, it keeps me going. So the super chats, the memberships, people just tuning in, it allows me to recognize value provided, and then the flywheel continues anyway. Thanks again for the memberships, Dave. Take a look at this glorious print. Last week, we were down here at this is the top of this kind of bull flag. And You're like, it should hit 115, but if it hits 115, it'll hit 120. And man, look at the respect. Bang, came down, consolidated all weekend, which was a little weird for me because, you know, in the throes of a throbbing bull market, we generally do get to see some pumping on the weekend. Now, historically, it's always been on Sundays, you know, when the market kind of opens up over in the, what did I do there? I don't want to undo that, or else who knows what might happen. I'll just move this over here a bit. And anyway, look at this respect too, these lines. This was the line of the channel of ascension that we didn't want to get into way back here. Remember, we were like, well, we don't really want to go through here. Sure enough, we blasted right through it and sat in the nether regions for a long time. Long time being, when was this? This was June 9th. Yeah, so it was a month ago. And Lord love a duck, we had to sit there for a month, you know, complaining about price action. But that's the thing, you know, what I love about Bitcoin and the investment strategy over a low time horizon, that it affects every aspect of your life, right? Once you have a cycle, and I know this is preaching to the choir because there's not really new people coming in to the market right now. Let's give it another shot. Chadwick, well, thank you for the super chat. He says, 5 buckaroos, 'tis very true. Wick's a true saint, just his halos askew. Big generosity, depth of virtue, so rare. Aren't you overwhelmed by all I share? Thank you for the super chat, Wick. Wick, big supporter of the piano channel on the weekends. What was I talking about? That's right. How it affects every aspect of your life. You can't, once you understand a low time horizon, looking out into a 4-year cycle, your whole life becomes a 4-year cycle. Everything, your expectations on every aspect of your life. And so now I'm tying this into health and nutrition. It's kind of like a throwback to that video that I started this live stream with. Once you understand where things go in 4 years and how much can change in 4 years if you just hold the line and you just look straight and you have discipline and you stay the course, you realize that everything and anything is possible. You know, when I think of fitness and nutrition and health, it's a journey. And what I found as I got older is that if you want to stay in the same spot, you got to run. But you're just staying in the same spot. Now, if you want to ascend and get better, higher, more gains, you got to run so fast, right? And that's part of the journey, is how you always have to escalate how hard you work. There's no backing down. There's no, you know, I've done a lot of work, I'm just going to not do it. No, the yesterday's work becomes today's normal. And then it just never changes. But when you cast that over 4 years of discipline, the changes are immense. The changes we've seen in the Bitcoin price in 4 years. Think about this. 15.5. What was that? 3 years ago? 15.5. It's becoming so relevant right now too, because I remember telling, you know, the squash club, the one of 2 places I go in my life, telling the board, I'm like, this is, you know, historically a pretty good time to buy Bitcoin. This club should buy it, and it should be its North Star of investing. You know, this asset's just always going to grow. You know, and you can lean on it in the future because, you know, these private clubs, they always have money issues, right? Always. Even though they have the cream of the cream of the crop. Anyway, the board's filled with all these financial advisors, always almost on the brink of bankruptcy, these clubs. Lots of wealth there, always on the brink of bankruptcy. brink of bankruptcy. Did they listen to the conspiracy theorist about buying a Bitcoin at 15.5? No, that's okay. Maybe next time they will, but probably not. Now, what I was saying before about how it's become a should we? Yeah, we'll take a look at this tweet. This is one that I found was preaching to this choir, because I've been saying this for a long time, how the game's changed, and the black swan in my life when it came to Bitcoin was retail not returning. Now they might, who knows? It's a humble opinion of this piano that they won't. And I think this tweet kind of reiterates it. It's from Sonny Poe. I don't know who Sonny Poe is. But he says, nobody cares that Berkshire Class A shares are $700K a share. But you think retail would care about Bitcoin at $170K? So now what I understand about this is that I myself, someone who is watching the charts 1,000 times a day, I never look or care about Berkshire Class A shares at 700K. The fact that they're 700K doesn't even affect me. It doesn't juice up anything in me. I'm not like, oh, that's I don't even think about it. It is completely meaningless to me. Let me put it differently. Sonny Poe continues. Do you care that Manhattan buildings are all 10 million plus minimum? No, I don't even think about it. Or do you need the price to go higher to admit there is no second best Manhattan? Ties in the Michael Saylor there. There's not one part of my investing intellect that ever thinks about the value of Manhattan. As far as I'm concerned, I'll probably never, ever think about it. And is that because the price is so large that it's just inconceivable for me? Not really. It's just not on my radar. But the price of it doesn't make it juicy for me. Like, I don't look at it and go, oh my God, Manhattan real estate, I got to get me some. The higher the price goes, the less the NPC normie mind cares. And this is a strange phenomena that I didn't see coming. It's a law of unintended consequences. There's things that you're always watching. As we scaled this bull run, we all imagined how the world would be very different with the price of Bitcoin over 100K. And really, although the world is very different, from a Bitcoin point of view and adoption for the normies and the NPCs, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed since now and 2021 or 22 when it was 15.5. Literally nothing's changed. In fact, it's the same. Which is something that I didn't, a consequence of unintention, an unintended consequence. Only the elite recognize these things and buy them. The NPC looks for cheaper, faster, better, and the next one. And you kind of see that play out in altcoins because it's the cost basis. And to me, that is why I call them only coins, because it's the cheap solution to a problem. And there is no easy fix, especially when it comes to investing. Now, do some people get a 10x, 100x on these only coins? Yes, but they're generally insiders. There might be one fluky threw a dart at an only coin before the insiders started to pump it and then got wildly rich. Was he able to cash it out? Probably not. Liquidity gets very thin on these small market cap, these low cap gems. I remember that was a big thing in 2021 bull run, low cap gems. Right? I don't really hear about that now, but maybe it's just because I don't swim in that part of the public pool filled with urine and poo and little money. We were talking. Did I say the story already, or have I told the story for so many times? Anyway, I did right at the piano bar. My dad was there. He was one of 4 people on Saturday night. And Duke's 10, right? And so when I was 10, him and my mom would send my sister and I, who's 2 years older than me, to a public pool. And it cost 50 cents to get in. and they would tell us, don't come back because we're not going to give you another 50 cents to get in. Once you're out, you're out. And this was without lunch money or lunch. So what would we do as 80s feral children? We would go to the bottom of the pool and collect as much money as we could. Dimes, nickels, quarters. You know, this is pre-Looney and Toonie. That would have been nice. And then if we get like 25 cents, 50 cents, sounds crazy, right? We'd go to the confectionery and buy a bunch of gummy garbage, and that would be our lunch. Anyway, I don't know how we got into that. This Sonny Poe tweet really puts it into perspective what I've been thinking this whole time about the MPC. Now, the crazy thing about this is that I still have people talking to me at the squash club about it, but they will not pull the trigger. You know what's going on in their mind? Now, if I were to give them a word of caution, I would say we've maybe exhausted, let's call it 75% of this bull run, but it doesn't mean that last 25 isn't more than the first 75. We're just time-wise, that's where we are in this kind of bullish arc. 75% of it has we've seen. Now, I would argue if you had a big amount to deploy and a low time horizon, get it in. Because let's say they get it in at 120 and it spikes to 200. They'll be initially happy. Now, if we do see a traditional pullback, maybe they're underwater for 6 months, in a year or so, and then the bull run begins again. But no one's pulling triggers that have the dry powder on the side into this price point. And it doesn't matter, because like this tweet says, only the elite recognize these things. When things get too overheated and valuable, that's when the elite start chomping at the bit. That's when all the deep money gets vetted for them. They're like, all right, yeah, you're right. I know we should have back at 15.5, but let's do it now. Let's go all in. And I don't think we've even seen the beginning of that. And when that starts coming in, Jesus, who knows what the price can be? Because as simple humans, we spend most of our life not knowing what we don't know, right? So even though, this is the funny thing that I always think about, even at 15.5. Okay, here's another side story. Remember 15.5. The one thing that has changed in my life is people not side-eyeing me with the concept of Bitcoin. And you may relate to this because the conviction in this community is as strong as we all have the same conviction. So it's very normal for us to throw out these numbers and no one think it's crazy. 15.5, telling people it's going to 100K. We said that with the straightest of faces, with the utmost conviction. And now I realize that for the vast amount of that time when it was down in there, because we're all having the same conversation, 120, 15.5. It's the same conversation. Where this price goes, why this price goes up, the importance of Bitcoin. The fundamentals don't change. Its use case doesn't change. Public sentiment and narrative around it does. But back then, I was like, wait a second. I'm getting the sneaky suspicion that everyone might have thought I was crazy. Now, they didn't say it, but I have a sneaking suspicion that most of them thought every time I opened my mouth, I was a nutcase. Now, I don't care, but not for 1 second did I feel like a nutcase when I was talking about it. In fact, I felt like I was saying the simplest of math equations. Something as simple as 2 plus 2 equals 4. I felt like I was just telling people 2 plus 2 equals 4. Now, that whole time, as I look back, as soon as I left the dinner or the conversation or the squash game or the post-squash game after I did my spiel, they probably looked at each other and said, that guy is insane. Now, that sentiment has probably changed a bit because of the cost bias of Bitcoin. Maybe I'm not so crazy anymore. Maybe we're all not so crazy anymore. Now, that being said, 15.5 to 100K is no more crazy or unattainable than where we are now to $1 million. To the normie, to the NPC, that conversation is equally as crazy. So I suppose if I were to start talking to these people and saying, well, it's going to $1 million, I would walk away and they would look at each other and go, Jesus Christ, that guy's insane. And of course, we all know that it's going to $1 million and beyond. This aspect of 10xing is nothing. So back to the guy he was talking about not getting it in now, waiting, and not pulling the trigger. The 10x is there, and then it's there again every cycle. Now, when it goes to 200K, 300K, let's say, and it comes back down to 150, all the people that didn't pull the trigger will be so ecstatic that they didn't pull the trigger way back when. Then the price will go up and they'll miss the boat again. And now, I've said this a majority of this bull run, you can't save them all. We've tried. We've done our best. In fact, I'm pretty sure there's nobody in this community that cannot sleep at night knowing you did your goddamn best to tell everyone to buy this asset, that things were going to change, that the money system's broken, that everything's going to be different in the future. And if you don't get on this bus, you are going to miss it and never get on it. We've all done it. We've all put in the work and the time. We can sleep at night now. Now, will they listen to us at $1 million? No. In fact, they may resent us more. And then you will see, you must be nice to be that lucky. It must be nice to get in so early. Now, here's the crazy part of it. You get in now. Like these people at the squash club who won't pull the trigger. You get in now. You are still so incredibly early that it blows my mind. Think about it. Bitcoin, $2 trillion asset. Gold, 16 trillion. Art, 18 trillion. Cars and collectibles, 6 trillion. Equity, stock market, 115 trillion. Real estate, 330 trillion. Bonds, 300 trillion. The money system, the money supply, 115 trillion. Bitcoin, 2 trillion. It's insanity. 2 trillion. Like, think about art. Now, a lot of people argue that art's just a great money laundering scheme. Money laundering scheme. Sure. Still has $18 trillion of value in it. Now, what would you rather have? A piece of art that could get damaged and it's gone. Something happens. Some kid throws a can of tomato soup at it. Museum, that's over. All of it's going into Bitcoin. You think about real estate, like, so, for instance, Dave Digital, the average normie can't afford to invest. I mean, 2 Starbucks a day gets expensive. Yeah. Well, I did the video on the Kager, right, of 1 Starbucks a day. How that'll make you $1 million in 12 years. 1 Starbucks a day. 2, forget about it, as Bobby says at the piano bar. Now, at the end of the day, these people that have, let's call them rental portfolios, right? What is the CAGR, compound annual growth rate, on their real estate portfolio? Is it 50? Like Bitcoin? Average, sometimes lower, sometimes higher. Who knows? It may be diminishing return, make it on to 40. I guarantee you it's not 40. Let's say it was half the Bitcoin CAGR, 20. That's before the cost, the carrying cost of the real estate. Furnace blows, new roof, just the interest, and then the VIG on the property tax that you'll always pay the biggest mafia boss in the world, which is the government. And the full-time job of keeping up with all those goddamn tenants. Or you can just put it all into Bitcoin. That's what's going to happen. So when you think of real estate, 330 trillion. 1% of the real estate market is 3 trillion. That takes us to 6 trillion. It doubles from here. It doubles from here with 1% of real estate. Now, 1% of bonds. It's 300 trillion market. Is another 3%. That takes us to 10%. Now we're at gold. 1% of real estate, 1% of bonds takes us to the gold market, takes us to 20 trillion or 16 trillion. Just like that. 1%. Now, that's not even including 1% of gold holders, 1% of art holders, 1% of the money supply, and 1% of the stock market, which is 115 trillion. All that. That's 1%. And that's insanity.
Make sure you like and subscribe.